The year is 1863, a year that would become a pivotal moment in the annals of American history. The United States, once a beacon of unity and liberty, is engulfed in a brutal civil war. The land is torn asunder, brother fighting against brother, in a conflict that has left deep scars on the nation's soul. The issue at the heart of this conflict? Slavery, a practice that had been a dark stain on the fabric of the nation since its inception. For decades, the nation had grappled with the morality and legality of enslaving fellow human beings. Debates raged in Congress, in the press, and in homes across the country. Now, the question had ignited a firestorm that threatened to tear the nation apart. The North and South were divided not just by geography, but by ideology and economy. In the North, the Union remained committed to preserving the nation's unity, even as abolitionist sentiment grew stronger. Cities buzzed with the fervor of a cause that was gaining momentum. In the South, the Confederacy fought fiercely to maintain its way of life, a way of life deeply intertwined with the institution of slavery. Plantations thrived on the labor of enslaved people, and the Southern economy was heavily dependent on this system. The war raged on, a bloody stalemate with neither side gaining a decisive advantage. Battlefields became the graves of countless soldiers, and the nation wept for its lost sons. It was against this backdrop of division and bloodshed that President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, a document that would change the course of the war and the future of the nation. This document, signed on January 1, 1863, would forever alter the course of American history. It was a beacon of hope for millions and a bold step towards justice. It was a bold declaration, a strategic maneuver, and a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit's yearning for freedom. Abolitionists rallied, their voices growing louder and more insistent. The Emancipation Proclamation did not immediately free all enslaved people in America. Its reach was limited, and its immediate impact was more symbolic than practical. It applied only to those enslaved in Confederate states, areas then outside of Union control. Yet, it sent a clear message to the Confederacy and the world. However, its symbolic power was undeniable. It galvanized the Union cause and gave new meaning to the war effort. It transformed the Civil War from a struggle to preserve the Union into a fight for human liberation. The proclamation was a clarion call for freedom, echoing through the ages and inspiring future generations to continue the fight for equality and justice. The Emancipation Proclamation also had a profound impact on the international stage. It shifted global perceptions of the Civil War, garnering support for the Union cause from countries that had previously remained neutral. Additionally, it allowed for the enlistment of African American soldiers into the Union Army. These brave men fought valiantly, proving their courage and commitment to the cause of freedom. Their contributions were invaluable, and their presence on the battlefield was a powerful statement against the institution of slavery. The Emancipation Proclamation was not the end of the struggle, but it was a significant milestone on the road to freedom. It laid the groundwork for future amendments and legislation that would eventually lead to the abolition of slavery in the United States. The 13th Amendment, ratified in December 1865, would finally abolish slavery in all its forms, fulfilling the promise of the Emancipation Proclamation and bringing an end to a dark chapter in American history. The legacy of the Emancipation Proclamation endures to this day. It serves as a reminder of the power of courage and conviction in the face of injustice, and the enduring human spirit's quest for freedom and equality. As we reflect on this pivotal moment in history, we are reminded that the fight for freedom and equality is ongoing. The Emancipation Proclamation set the stage, but it is up to each generation to continue the work and strive for a more just and equitable society. Let us honor the legacy of those who fought for emancipation by committing ourselves to the principles of justice, equality, and human dignity. The journey towards true freedom is long, but it is a journey worth taking. The Emancipation Proclamation was a beacon of hope in a time of darkness. It lit the way for a nation struggling to find its soul, and continues to inspire us to reach for the ideals of liberty and justice for all. Abraham Lincoln, a man of deep moral conviction yet pragmatic in his approach to leadership, did not initially seek to abolish slavery. His journey towards the Emancipation Proclamation was a complex one, marked by evolving strategies and shifting priorities. At the beginning of his presidency, Lincoln's primary focus was on preserving the Union, a nation teetering on the brink of disintegration. His primary objective at the outset of the Civil War was to preserve the Union. The secession of Southern states posed an existential threat to the United States, and Lincoln was determined to bring them back into the fold. He believed that the Union must be maintained at all costs, even if it meant tolerating the institution of slavery in the short term. However, as the war dragged on, Lincoln recognized the strategic advantage of striking at the Confederacy's economic and social foundation, slavery. The institution of slavery was not just a moral blight but also a critical component of the Southern economy. Enslaved people were the backbone of the Confederate war effort, providing labor and support that kept the Southern states functioning. The Emancipation Proclamation was thus a calculated risk, a bold maneuver designed to cripple the Confederacy's war effort. By issuing this proclamation, Lincoln aimed to weaken the South's ability to sustain its military operations. It was a strategic decision that carried significant risks, but also the potential for immense rewards. By declaring enslaved people in Confederate states to be free, Lincoln hoped to undermine the South's economy, deplete its labor force, and inspire enslaved people to rise up against their oppressors. The proclamation was a beacon of hope for millions of enslaved individuals, signaling a possible end to their suffering and a chance for freedom. The proclamation was also a shrewd diplomatic move. Lincoln understood the importance of international perception and the role it could play in the outcome of the war. By framing the conflict as a moral crusade against slavery, he sought to gain the favor of foreign nations. It effectively neutralized the possibility of European powers intervening in the war on behalf of the Confederacy. European nations, particularly Britain and France, had strong economic ties to the South due to their reliance on cotton. However, public opinion in these countries was largely anti-slavery, and Lincoln's proclamation made it politically difficult for their governments to support the Confederacy. By framing the conflict as a fight against slavery, Lincoln garnered international sympathy for the Union cause and made it politically untenable for European nations to support the Confederacy. The Emancipation Proclamation thus served multiple purposes. It was a moral statement, a strategic military action, and a diplomatic masterstroke. It marked a turning point in the Civil War, reshaping the conflict and redefining the nation's values. The Emancipation Proclamation, issued by President Abraham Lincoln on January 1, 1863, had an immediate and profound impact on the Civil War. This landmark document declared that all enslaved people in Confederate-held territory were to be set free. While it did not end slavery throughout the United States, it fundamentally transformed the character of the war. The proclamation galvanized support for the Union cause, both domestically and internationally. In the North, it strengthened the resolve of those who were fighting to preserve the Union, giving them a moral imperative to continue the struggle. Internationally, it garnered support from countries that had already abolished slavery, such as Britain and France, making it politically difficult for them to support the Confederacy. Abolitionists, who had long advocated for the end of slavery, rejoiced at this significant step towards achieving their goal. Figures like Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, and William Lloyd Garrison saw the proclamation as a vindication of their tireless efforts. It was a moment of triumph and validation for those who had dedicated their lives to the cause of freedom and equality. More importantly, the proclamation opened the door for African Americans to officially join the Union Army and Navy. This was a monumental shift, as it allowed black men to take an active role in their own liberation. The Union Army began to recruit African American soldiers, who were eager to fight for their freedom and that of their loved ones. Hundreds of thousands of black men, eager to fight for their freedom and that of their loved ones, enlisted in the Union forces. These soldiers, often referred to as the United States Colored Troops, USCT, played a crucial role in the Union war effort. Their bravery and determination in battle earned them respect and recognition, both from their fellow soldiers and from the nation as a whole. These brave soldiers played a crucial role in turning the tide of the war in favor of the Union. Their participation not only bolstered the Union's numbers, but also provided a significant morale boost. The sight of African American soldiers fighting valiantly for their freedom inspired others and demonstrated the Union's commitment to the cause of emancipation. The proclamation also struck a blow at the Confederacy's morale. Confederate soldiers and civilians alike were demoralized by the realization that the institution of slavery, which they had fought to preserve, was under direct attack. The knowledge that enslaved people were being freed and that African American soldiers were fighting against them was a psychological blow to the Confederate cause. Southern slaveholders, already facing military setbacks, now confronted the prospect of losing their enslaved workforce and the economic system that underpinned their way of life. The proclamation threatened the very foundation of the Southern economy, which relied heavily on slave labor. Plantations were thrown into disarray as enslaved people seized the opportunity to escape, leaving their former masters to cope with the loss of their labor force. The proclamation fueled resistance within the Confederacy itself, as enslaved people took advantage of the chaos of war to escape to freedom behind Union lines. Thousands of enslaved individuals fled their plantations, seeking refuge with Union forces. Their actions not only deprived the Confederacy of labor, but also provided valuable intelligence and support to the Union Army. The Emancipation Proclamation, therefore, was not just a symbolic gesture. It was a strategic move that had far-reaching consequences for the course of the Civil War and the future of the United States. The Emancipation Proclamation ushered in a new era in the fight for freedom. It transformed the Civil War into a struggle for human liberation, with African Americans playing a pivotal role in securing their own emancipation. Black soldiers served with distinction in the Union Army and Navy, demonstrating their courage, patriotism, and unwavering commitment to the cause of freedom. These soldiers faced unimaginable hardships. They endured racial prejudice and discrimination from some within their own ranks, while confronting the constant threat of brutal treatment or death if captured by Confederate forces. Yet, they persevered, their sacrifices proving instrumental in securing Union victory. Beyond the battlefield, African Americans contributed to the Union war effort in countless ways. They worked as laborers, spies, scouts, cooks, nurses, and in other essential roles. Their contributions were crucial to the Union's success, highlighting the indispensable role African Americans played in shaping the nation's destiny.